We're getting there. Therapeutic Thursday.
Hold on one
The
second.
treacherous. Yeah. What?
Hold on one second. So Chef Rob was talking about how he one time had two in one day. And it turns out that they messed up the first one, a head to toe scan, so they had to do it again later that day. They didn't give him enough line to go all the way through the machine, and it ripped out of his arm,
Oh,
right?
ouch.
Gaga.
And so it's Rob. He's giving everybody the benefit of the doubt. He's like, it was January 2nd. I think the techs were a bit partied out. I was yelling at them. It wasn't going to rip out, and they didn't even notice.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
unacceptable.
Yeah.
that's totally unacceptable.
And then he says, they caught hell from the chief of radiology,
You
as they
think?
should.
And they shouldn't. They better not have put that into insurance twice either. I
Oh, I
would
know,
have.
right?
Hmm.
But get this. He also mentions that he met Tony Bennett once when he was
Ah,
15,
Wow.
right?
that's exciting.
That's exciting. Yeah.
Asked him where. He hasn't circled back yet.
Okay. That's exciting. I met Stevie Wonder once. He told me I was pretty,
Oh.
and I was very confused. All right. Therapeutic Thursday. This everybody goes through the treacherous what ifs, the master of uncertainty that equals the greatest amount of anxiety, right? So when you find out you're in need of surgery, or even if you're going to have a scan, it's indulging in that what if this, what if that, that actually leads us down this never ending rabbit hole of worry and doubt, anxiety, the whole nine yards. And instead of enjoying the present moment, we all have done it. We become trapped in this loop of hypothetical scenarios that might never ever happen. Look, I can do it just because it's a Thursday. I don't even need it to be about my health. Everybody does a what if. Well, what if this? Or what if she said this? Or what if that person meant this? Or what if this tastes better? We do it with everything. I think it's just our need to want to control more. And when you can't, you outgas that what if, right? So some of the things that this post was talking about is the ways that we can flip that script. So when it comes to surgery, and I know these are hard, and I did have somebody be like, yeah, this is a lot easier when you read it than if you try to implement it. I could not agree with you more. But if you want to say, I'm so terrified or scared of surgery, I can't thinking about all of the things that could go wrong. Totally appreciate that. I have no problem sitting with anybody and let's go through the list of every single thing in the world could go wrong. We'll talk about how good you feel when we're done that list. We can do that. But maybe instead of spending time doing that, we just acknowledge the nervousness because that's totally normal. It's not cognitively irrational, but also recognize that you're choosing this physician because you feel very comfortable with them. You wouldn't if you didn't. You trust the doctor. And your job is just to do what you can do to control your situation, which is to remain positive, to try to be stress free, to create an environment in your body that allows that doctor to do what they do all day, every day, and what they do best. So easy to say, I know, but it really is the best win win situation for yourself. Because if you're just going to be like, oh my God, and what if, it's going to be very exhausting. You're going to be very stressed out, and you have not made any forward motion at all. You're just stagnant, like Dino, but people are too young. I don't know who that is. All right. If you want to say, I'm so scared, the pain is going to be unbearable. This is one that I know I have said for years. It only takes one situation in life that creates a lot of pain, and now you are just pain adverse.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. It's like a PTSD. And one of my bowel resections, the first one I had, the way they used to treat you for pain was with an epidural. So I remember waking up thinking, this is awesome. Like I had 7 stitches all the way from my belly button down. Like I'm comfortable. I'm doing great. Okay. So the epidural wore off during nurse change. And it was, to this date of all my surgeries, the first or the second most painful thing I'd ever, and you couldn't find a nurse. My mother was pulling terms of endearment, screaming, just get my daughter some pain meds. And so after that, every other surgery, which were 3 more bowel surgeries before I even get to the age of needing this dissection, my first thing I'd say is I need to talk about pain management. I don't care about anything else except what are you going to do? I need to know what I'm going to feel when I wake up. I need to know that it's managed. And then I had the the patient control device, the PCA, I think it's called, or the PAC, the button you could push that would give you your own drugs. I needed to understand, what did that mean? What if I'm pushing it 5 times in a row? Like, will I be just really high? Will I be comfortable? So it's, instead of just sitting there with this, I'm just so scared it's going to be unbearable. Find out the answers to where the fear started from. Understand that there might be some discomfort, because you can't cut yourself and not feel discomfort. And maybe focus on the fact that pain management has come a long way since way back in the day, and that you can make this pact and this plan with your medical team so that you're not in that kind of pain.
Absolutely. Ask questions, because that's the fear, is not knowing. And it may be prior experience, but like I try to take my own advice, which I give to someone who might be going through something very awful, is, you know what, take it one step at a time, ask questions, get information. And ultimately, I feel like if you're facing something so daunting, just know that it will be over with. You will be on the other side of it. That's for anything I do that I dread or don't want to do. It's like, it'll be over. It will be over, and it'll be as if nothing happened afterwards. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that anxiety is tough.
Recovery is hard. Giving yourself up to science and saying, you know what, I have no choice. Okay, so I have to have the surgery. I don't really have an option. It's gonna not feel great. Day 3 is probably the worst. Day 3 of recovery, I think, from anything is always the worst. It's when you peak, fevers peak, things peak. It's always the worst. And I think if you can just make sure you've got a plan, like you said, ask questions about it. What if anything changes? What should I do? So just having COVID recently. So before I knew, this was like Saturday, Sunday, I'm testing negative, fevers of 102, the worst sore throat of my entire life. My doctor said, I'm going to give you Paxlovid. And I said, I'm like, I need to go to the hospital. Like, this is just, I'm in agony. Take 2 dosaging, take tonight, take tomorrow morning. If you don't feel better after tomorrow morning, we will definitely have a conversation. So at least now I have an expectation. And then I said to her, so what do I do if something changes? What would be the change that would have me call you or go to the hospital? And she said, okay, your pulse ox is at 93. So I've had one since COVID. I always keep a pulse ox in the house. If it drops below 90, just go straight. Don't call me. Go straight to the hospital and don't call me. If your fever spikes over 103, just go straight to the hospital and just don't call me. I was like, okay, I've got a plan. If this or this happens, I know where I'm going. Otherwise, I can take this, and just wait it out. Okay. The second dose of Paxlovid, which tastes like devil spit, it's disgusting. But within an hour after that, fever's broken, sore throat's gone. And it was like, I felt so much better though, because I had a plan. I knew if this happened and this happened, what to do. And she gave me an expectation, and the expectation was met. So, but again, if she tells me to try to do a headstand, I'm going to try to do one. I'm not going to be effective, but I'm going to try, because I'll do anything she says. All right. Next one. When you want to say, I can't help but worry about anesthesia, I always say, just make sure I wake up. I just always say it, amongst some other very comical things. But I usually always say, just make sure I wake up. Because what if something goes wrong? Look, it's very normal to have concerns about anesthesia. Look, you are way out of your area of being in control over anything. Your job is just to close your eyes, think you're going to have a nap, and wake up, and you think it's 1 second later. That's it. That's what your job is. But if you go over your medical history thoroughly with a doctor, if you've ever gotten nauseous with anesthesia, if you've ever woken up with shakes, tell them everything. They'll be prepared that when you wake up, you'll have a nice warm blanket. They can already give you Zofran and take care of any potential nausea. Like, if you discuss it with them, you'll form your plan together. And this will put all the precautions will be taken. Everything will be ensured that your anxiety should be able to be alleviated. You're just going to take a little nappy, and then you're just going to wake up. And if you're uncomfortable, they'll be prepared to help you. I do this even with the colonoscopy. I tell them everything that I've ever experienced. And then I say, I would like to milk this falling asleep as long as possible, please. And then I wake up and it's all over. So it's all the same theme here is communication, right? It's what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
is a big one. I'm afraid I'm too scared to go through the surgery because I might not recover and I might not have the same life as I had before. These are real. These are real fears, especially when you hear some of the things that have happened to people in the community. It is scary. And maybe what you have to say to yourself, and I try to tell people this, is you cannot look at recovery literally. In some ways, you can't look at it on a day-to-day basis, or you will not see that you're getting better because you're too in the weeds of not feeling comfortable. You're not sleeping. You're just half out of it. You almost have to look at your recovery in terms of weeks. So write down, it really is beneficial to write down, here's where I feel. And then in a week, read it and see if you feel the same way this next week, or read it 2 weeks later. And I guarantee that you're going to feel a little bit better. And talk to other people and find out what their successful recoveries have been like. What did they do? What were they feeling in certain time periods? It doesn't mean that it's going to be like that for you, but at least you'll have some kind of basics. It's like what to expect when you're expecting. Like everybody read that book that we're having babies, but it doesn't mean your baby's going to be doing what it says it's supposed to be doing. It's just supposed to give you an idea of other people's experiences. It doesn't mean you run and call the doctor and say, mine didn't make a really full smile yet. It just means it's coming. It's coming. It'll happen. It's just like a little tool book.
It's a little point of reference too. I remember, well, I didn't write anything down during my, weeks and months after my surgery because I just was incapable. I was just flatlined. However, there were pictures taken, family was in town caring for me and we'd go on a little outing or a walk and there'd be a photo taken. And I would look at those as the weeks would go on and I would look back and go, oh my God, I remember that day. My 89-year-old mother beat me at a 1-mile walk. I was going, and then I'd see the next week. And anyway, it was great reference to just see how far I had come, or, maybe days that I had a setback or something. It was just a great, and now it's kind of interesting to look at because it just gives me so much, God, I don't even know the word, just happiness to know that I came out on the other side when I thought I would never be able to sleep on my side again, laying there like that. All these things, time heals it, and it is amazing.
It changes it. It just, even if you weren't able to lay on your side, maybe you were able to lay on the other side, or maybe on your belly, or maybe you learned to love laying on your back. So you're absolutely right, though. You're 100% right. I think that time does heal it. At least it puts it into a different perspective.
Right. It somehow, whether or not it completely heals anything, it changes how you can deal with it, how you can handle it. Like you almost get used to the new norm or issue. Yeah.
And for those of you that say, I'm just too scared, I think I'm going to cancel the surgery. Look, the surgery wouldn't be being scheduled if it wasn't so super beneficial to your health. No doctor wants to do this surgery that could be anywhere from 5 to 10 hours, maybe more, if they didn't feel very confident that this is going to give you a positive outcome and a better quality of life. They're not just willy-nilly like, let's just do a valve replacement because it sounds like it's a good thing to do on Tuesday. They're doing it because they've assessed the situation. They know that it can improve your health concerns in the long run. And so again, talk to your medical team. Instead of sitting there with those fears, have that conversation. So it's very important to know that you should recognize your fears and your concerns. Try not to go down the what if, because it would just make you crazy, and take those concerns and turn them into a way to communicate with your physicians or with community members. That's why we have these support group meetings that we offer. Talk to other people who have already walked this walk and get an idea on what their experience was. It may not be yours, but at least you have an idea on what other people have gone through and some tips that work for them.
Yeah, great tips. There's always great tips being thrown around in our little groups, support group or hangouts or otherwise. There's just all fun. It's all not fun, but tips.
Yeah, hangouts are pretty fun. I've been part of that once or twice.
Oh, yeah. Right, Rob? Yeah, we have a good time, and it's just,